Clive Barker fans, rejoice! We are finally getting new content on the small screen. Not the big screen, but the small screen. I mean, I want more Hellraiser, and I'll get to that later on. But the big news right now is that Hulu is getting a new series based on the Books of Blood. And I am excited. So let's break it down. Before we get to that, guys, hit that like button because liking these videos lets me know that you love them. And hit the notification bell so you miss any videos just like this one. Let's get to the news. It was announced yesterday that Hulu will be releasing an anthology feature film take on Clive Barker's Books of Blood on October 7th. Directed by Brandon Braga of The Orville and produced by Seth MacFarlane's Fuzzy Door, Books of Blood will adapt 3 stories from Barker's landmark short story collections. Books of Blood are a series of horror fiction collections written by the British author Clive Barker. There are 6 books total, each simply subtitled Volume 1 through 6, and contain 4 or 5 stories each. A poster for the series was revealed and shows a manly figure looking up with its entire face as an aged book, with the book open and the pages about to be turned. It's creepy and very Clive Barker-esque, and goes with some of the more recent American Horror Story and even the new Netflix show Ratched horror theme. This series comes after Barker's stories have been previously adapted to film in 2009's Book of Blood. The British mystery horror film centered on a paranormal expert who, while investigating gruesome slaying, finds a house that is at an intersection of highways, transporting souls to the afterlife. Based on the wraparound story penned by Clive Barker in the author's Books of Blood collection, a psychic researcher, Mary Fleshew, employs medium Simon McGill to investigate a haunted house. McGill at first begins to fake his visions, but then real ghosts present themselves. They attack him and carve words in his flesh, and these words, claims the narrator, form the rest of the stories written on a literal living Book of Blood. Other Barker adaptations include the author's The Forbidden, which was adapted to the horror classic Candyman, the 1986 novella The Hellbound Heart, which was transformed into the Hellraiser series, and The Midnight Meat Train became a feature film starring Bradley Cooper in 2008. So there was an announcement of what 3 stories could be adapted from Books of Blood for the new Hulu series. So here are my 3 choices of what stories I think could be adapted from the Books of Blood that would best fit for Hulu's new series. The first story is Revelations from Volume 4 of Books of Blood. A woman named Virginia is unwillingly taken on a tour of the U.S. by her unfeeling husband, a preacher named John Geyer. They stay at a motel which is visited by the ghosts of Buck and Sadie, a married couple who stayed there. In the same room 30 years before, Sadie murdered Buck and was subsequently put to death for murder. Buck and Sadie find that Virginia has the ability to both see and hear them. Meanwhile, a scuffle ensues when John discovers their driver Earl has been giving Virginia pills to help her deal with her anxiety issues. While looking for Earl to confront him about the pills, John finds the married driver in bed with the daughter of the motel owner, Laura May. Virginia ends up getting her hands on the same murder weapon used by Sadie 30 years prior, which Laura May has kept as a souvenir. Virginia uses the gun to try to kill Buck's ghost, who managed partial materialization in order to attempt to rape her, but the bullet goes through him and finds its way into John's throat, killing him. Virginia contemplates suicide, but Sadie's ghost advises her to plead insanity. Whilst being taken in by the local sheriff, someone asks her why she did it. Virginia answers, "The devil made me do it," whilst gazing at the moon with the craziest smile she can muster. The second story I would adapt is In the Flesh from Volume 5 of Books of Blood. A prison inmate named Cleve gets a new cellmate, a mysterious young man called Billy, who admits that he committed a crime with the sole intention of coming to this particular prison. Billy believes he has been summoned there by his grandfather, a supposedly powerful sorcerer who was buried in the prison after his execution for murder years before. Billy's efforts to summon his grandfather Tate's spirit causes Cleve to be haunted by dreams in which he travels to a form of purgatory for murderers, or killers are obliged to spend some portion of their afterlife in a replica of the scene of their crime. In the end, Billy vanishes from his cell. His grandfather's coffin is exhumed and found to contain Billy curled up next to his grandfather's corpse. Once released, Cleve finds that his travels to the murderer's purgatory have left him with the ability to hear other people's thoughts, as long as they revolve around killing people. He becomes disillusioned with humanity and becomes a heroin addict to suppress his newfound powers. Cleve later commits a murder himself to feed his habit, and is shot dead by the police. He spends an indeterminate amount of time in his own murderer's purgatory before discovering that individuals can escape via reincarnation. And the last story that I would adapt for the Hulu series is The Life of Death from Volume 6 of Books of Blood. Following a brush with cancer and a subsequent hysterectomy, a woman named Elaine becomes fascinated by a church that is being demolished. She encounters a cheerfully morbid man named Kavanaugh, who shares her fascination. The demolition soon reveals a tomb of plague victims that have been fermenting for centuries, and Elaine breaks in at night to view the bodies. Later, when her friends begin to die off and the police come after her, Elaine takes refuge with Kavanaugh, who she firmly believes, due to his mysterious personality and skeletal features, to be Death. It turns out Kavanaugh is only a serial killer and necrophile. He strangles and rapes Elaine. As her soul flees her body, Elaine feels a sick sort of glee when she realizes that Kavanaugh will now be the carrier of the plague she contracted in the tomb, and will spread it far and wide. Fans of Clive Barker have other projects to look forward to in addition to the new Hulu series. Nia DaCosta's Candyman sequel is set to come out, and a Hellraiser TV series and movie reboot have been in the works for a while now. Those are both some of my favorite works from Barker, as I'm sure are most people's, but I'm really looking forward to this new series. I won't have to wait long, given that the series will release on October 7th. So we think about the Books of Blood series coming to Hulu. We think about my choices for the 3 stories adapted from the Books of Blood series. They're pretty creepy, right? I mean, I can only imagine really anything from Clive Barker really being PG or PG-13-esque. I mean, this is going to be on Hulu, so I hope that they really go for all of it and just go straight rated R or whatever you want to call it, NC-17, you know, mature audiences, whatever it is. I'm expecting some very erotic, sadistic, bloody, gory, just messes with your mind kind of stuff, and I'm ready for it. Let me know in the comments below if you're excited about the new series coming to Hulu. And that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos just like this one, hit the subscribe notification bell. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Justin_McGill. Make sure you follow the Mashup on Instagram at the Mashup. That's at THEMSHUP. And I'll see you guys next time on the Mashup.